Hey guys, how's it going? So today we're going to talk about indefinite pronouns from Shurley chapter 12, lesson 2. And we're going to go over one more poem of a type that we haven't necessarily looked at before. Uh, so I noticed with your poets yesterday, most of you did what I asked and posted the poets you're going to use for your project. A couple people didn't post one, and one or two of you posted a poem instead of a poet. So if you have not, go back to yesterday's exercise and tell me what poet you're using so I can give you credit for that. I'll still give you credit throughout the week, but you need to go ahead and get that decided and start thinking about your three poems. Um, I've looked at all of those that people posted, and there were a couple I wasn't familiar with. But most of them, were ones I was familiar with. People like E. E. Cummings, Robert Frost, Shakespeare. Um, Somebody did William Butler Yeats, Longfellow, people like that. Emily Dickinson, and all those are totally fine with me. Lots of good choices in there, and a lot of variety. Some people did, Shel Silverstein, A. Milne, Dr. Seuss, people who were more focused on kids your age, which is also great. I'm fine with all that. So start looking at your three poems you're going to pick. A lot of you may have already picked some because we're going to have Friday's assignment be post the three poems. All right. So also, I've posted a link to the Purdue OWL website on Google Classroom. That's where the MLA formatting guidelines are. Search through that if you have any questions. If you can't figure it out after looking at that and you need some more help, get in touch with me and let me know. I may do another little walkthrough video before your project is due where I remind you of how to do MLA, but we'll see if it's needed or not. Also, I've got a Shirley 12-1 exercise posted. It's just 5 questions. It's based on what we did yesterday with pronouns and antecedents. Take your time with that. Go back and look at yesterday's video if you need to. Remember that an antecedent comes before the pronoun. It's whatever the pronoun refers back to, okay? I don't think that exercise is too difficult. You can use your book. You can use the video. Just like always with any exercises I post on Classroom, I don't mind you using that. Any notes you've taken are fine. But today we're going to go over indefinite pronouns. Now, these are an idea that's sometimes kind of difficult for people to wrap their head around. I've noticed people struggle with this. I'm seeing right now that I typed this incorrectly. I'll fix it really quickly. So an indefinite pronoun is a word that operates like a pronoun, but the word indefinite means unclear, uncertain, okay? So these are words that refer to something but not a specific something. So if I say the word anybody, like it could have been anybody, I'm using anybody as a pronoun, referring to that back to that it, to who it could have been, but anybody's indefinite because we don't know exactly who it is. Okay, it's not saying a specific person. It's not like it was that girl or it was that guy over there. It could have been anybody. It's indefinite, it's uncertain. So the way you identify these words, most of them are going to have one of these beginnings with one of these endings. So everyone, everybody, everything, someone, somebody. That says same. I'm sorry. I've got several typos today. Someone, somebody, something, anyone, anybody, anything. You could also put no one, nobody, nothing. I'll put that down there really quickly. So these are probably the most common types. It's one of these prefixes that I've listed here, followed by one of these suffixes. And some of these can also be an indefinite pronoun on their own. The word one by itself, like one of you will win this competition. That's an indefinite pronoun, one. Some of you will blah, 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 blah. That's also an indefinite pronoun. So some of these prefixes or suffixes can by themselves be one. Now, other indefinite pronouns I've listed here for you. I don't know that this is, I doubt this is a complete list, but this is most of the common ones you'll see. When you see these in a sentence and they're operating as the noun of the sentence, like they are the subject or the object, or they're the object of a pronoun, something like that, these are indefinite pronouns. So if I said, few have the skills necessary to win, few would be the subject noun of the sentence, is an indefinite pronoun. Many lost their lives in the war, indefinite pronoun. Same thing all the way down. You could use them in the subject or in the object. So where this gets difficult is when you're trying to figure out whether they're singular or plural. I will refer you to chapter 12, lesson 2 in your Shurley book, reference 181 on indefinite pronouns. It talks about the subject-verb agreement of these and whether they're singular or plural. I'm not going to test you on that because it's a little bit difficult. It's something that I've noticed classes struggle with in the past. Even 7th graders struggle with it a bit, and we've done it before. So all I'm going to ask you to be able to do with indefinite pronouns with the information from Shurley chapter 12 lesson 2 is to identify them in a sentence. Tomorrow's exercise will be on this, and I will say identify the indefinite pronoun in the sentence. And that's it. You'll read a sentence, you'll find what word in it is an indefinite pronoun, and that'll be your answer. I don't think that's terribly difficult. Subject verb agreement, deciding which verb goes with which one, whether it's singular, plural, and all that, that can be tricky because some of them don't sound the way they actually are, as in they sound like they're singular, but they're actually plural, or vice versa. And that's a pain. I'm not going to do that. I don't really want to give you something that difficult where we're not in class to work it out on the board and for me to show you. If you have me next year, we'll go over it then. But just be able to identify them in sentences. And I've got some example sentences here. So someone is playing a trumpet. That prefix some, suffix one. So someone here is our subject. Obviously is playing. That's our verb, playing trumpet. So someone here is an indefinite pronoun. Few are told what to do. Again, few is the subject here. It's an indefinite pronoun. Either Bob or Bill will win the game. Actually, I'll simplify this. I don't want it to be too complicated. So either will win the game. We don't have to know which ones because I made it a little bit too definite with the first way I had it written. So either will win the game. We're talking about two possibilities. We don't know which ones. It's an indefinite pronoun. Both of us should try the pizza. So this is a prepositional phrase, obviously. So then both should try the pizza is the way the sentence could be read without it, because we know you can take out prepositional phrases in order to understand the sentence better. So both is our subject noun. It's an indefinite pronoun. Each of you will get one chance. Same idea here. We've got a prepositional phrase, which we could remove. Each will get one chance. So most of the time these are going to show up in the subject. They could show up in the predicate. As in, I might say, it could have been anybody. That was our example sentence at the beginning. I might say, I want both. Okay, and we don't know what those both are because it's indefinite, but I want both. Like maybe you said, do you want vanilla or chocolate ice cream? I'm a fat lord, so I say I want both. Give one to each, things like that. So it can operate as the direct object in a sentence. You could put it as an indirect object. Anywhere basically that you could put a noun, you could put an indefinite pronoun in there. So focus not necessarily on what they do in a sentence other than the fact that they are nouns, but focus on what they look like. So these lists that I've given you are pretty comprehensive. Pretty much any pronoun I give you is going to be off this list. But if you want to look at reference 181 to get some more information, that would also be great. You can use this video, you can use this list, you can use that reference in your book on tomorrow's exercise. Feel free. I probably would just to be safe. But let me know if you have any questions on those, or if you find them tricky to identify. You don't really know what indefinite means or anything like that. I know it's a little bit of a big word. It just means unclear or uncertain. All right, so let's look at a poem. Let me zoom out a little bit. So this poem is Arithmetic by Carl Sandburg. He wrote some kind of goofy poetry at times. You can look up some of it, and a lot of it's kind of nonsensical. He's fun, though. I don't think anybody's doing him. But this poem is written in free verse, okay, which means there's no rhyme scheme, there's no meter, and it's also not narrative, okay? So this is a non-narrative free verse poem, and this is a lot of what Sandburg wrote. It's a lot of what more modern poets do write. So I'll go ahead and read through it, and then we'll talk about it. The meaning's pretty simple. Arithmetic is where numbers fly like pigeons in and out of your head. Arithmetic tells you how many you lose or win if you know how many you had before you lost or won. Arithmetic is 7-Eleven, all good children go to heaven, or 5-6, bundle of sticks. Arithmetic is numbers you squeeze from your head to your hand to your pencil to your paper till you get the right answer. Arithmetic is where the answer is right and everything is nice and you can look out of the window and see the blue sky, or the answer is wrong and you have to start all over and try again and see how it comes out this time. If you take a number and double it again and then double it a few more times, the number gets bigger and bigger and goes higher and higher, and only arithmetic can tell you what the number is when you decide to quit doubling. Arithmetic is where you have to multiply and you carry the multiplication table in your head and hope you won't lose it. If you have 2 animal crackers, one good and one bad, and you eat one and a striped zebra with streaks all over him eats the other, how many animal crackers will you have if somebody offers you 5, 6, 7 and you say no, 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 and you say nay, 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 and you say nix, nix, nix? If you ask your mother for 1 fried egg for breakfast and she gives you 2 fried eggs and you eat both of them, who is better in arithmetic, you or your mother? So this is a goofy poem. It starts off pretty simply, just talking about, adding, multiplying, subtracting, dividing, all that, just arithmetic, numbers, the most basic form of math. And it seems like it's just describing that. But if we look at it, there's no rhyme, right? The end of line sounds are never the same. The only thing consistent is that word arithmetic's repeated. There is a rhythm to the poem. He uses certain things to create sound. He echoes certain things, that nay, 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 nix, 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 the counting, the 5, 6, 7. So he does create rhythm in a poetic fashion, but he doesn't do it through rhyme or meter. It's completely free verse. And there is no narrative here, right? There's no cohesive story with a beginning, middle, and end. It doesn't really tell us what's going on. It seems more like somebody starts talking about math and gets tired of talking about math and decides to make a joke out of it. Because those last two little, I guess you could call these stanzas, even though they're not separated by white space. This bit is my favorite part of it. It's pretty funny, especially the bit about the 2 fried eggs and whether you or your mother is better at arithmetic. But this is just an example of how diverse poetry can be. Again, like yesterday, it can have a narrative purpose, or it can create an image, or it can just be something like this, where it's kind of goofy and nonsensical and most likely aimed at kids. A lot of Shel Silverstein stuff is going to be kind of like this, although his poems are usually a bit more narrative. But this is just, an example of free verse poetry that doesn't have a narrative purpose. I'm trying to give you guys a diversity of things for you to look at so you can see kind of how wide and broad poetry is. So if you don't like, Shakespeare or other really old-fashioned strict rhyming poetry, there's a lot of it that does a lot of different things. It's hard not to find a poem that you will like if you look far enough. But let me know if you have any questions about what free verse is or anything about the poets or poems you're looking for. If you haven't picked a poet again, get back to me. Let me know if you got any questions on indefinite pronouns or our exercise today on Shurley 12-1 with the pronouns and antecedents. Like I said, always feel free to use videos, your book, whatever. I understand that some of these concepts are a little bit difficult with us not being able to do them in class. And in case you missed it in yesterday's video, keep in mind our poetry project is pushed back 1 week. May the 8th, next Friday, is going to be when it's due. So take your time on it, but like I said, go ahead and be picking out your poems. All right, see you guys.